science fiction is about all that advanced stuff that the primitives tend not to be down with. And that fantasy is more the domain of the women, of those colored people. You know, fantasy, just made up stuff. Not stuff with systems and stuff that deals with the future. They're in touch with their ancestors. It's true. I mean, I spent my fucking years interviewing for this book, and people were like, tell us about your mystical ancestors. And I'm like, wow. So, I would argue, though the book invites multiple readings, I would be more inclined to remember that Alexander Key, a guy who gets mic checked in the book various times. Alexander Key is a young adult, a youth book writer from the 60s and 70s who wrote the Escape the Witch Mountain books. And he wrote a book called Flight to the Lonesome Place, a book about set in the Caribbean with a young Puerto Rican girl and this crazy, crazy novel, which includes an alien that's a speaking mongoose and interdimensional travel. And I would argue that that is more of a direct reference than anything spiritual or supernatural. You know? I think that for me, there's a figure in the novel which Oscar keeps referring to, which is the Kwisatz Haderach. And the Kwisatz Haderach, and I'll leave you with this, is the Messiah figure in the novel Dune. And in Dune, they breed human beings to create a Messiah. And so if you think about this novel is about the children of a breeding experiment called slavery. And in this novel, Oscar keeps referring to the Dune novels and the Dune mythology. And the Kwisatz Haderach is you breed these people. And at the end, there will be a super-powered, super science Messiah. And how do we know the Messiah? Because right now, all the super-powered humans that they're able to create with this breeding experiment, they can do one of two things. All the male near Kwisatz Haderach, near Messiahs, can speak to all of their male ancestors. In other words, inside of yourself, you're like the Avatar from the cartoons. You can speak to every male ancestor. So you can go 32 generations back and say, Memine, what the fuck should I do? And Memine's inside being like, tigre no toques a vaina. The women, the female near Kwisatz Haderachs can reach inside themselves and speak to every female ancestor. The Messiah will be able to speak to both genders. The male will speak to the females, etc. And so, for me, the reason science fiction is such an important part of this book is because most of the stuff that happens in this book in a supernatural way can be explained by what would happen if the breeding experiment of human beings that leads to a super-powered Messiah-like figure comes to reality. Which is, in this book, we see a failed Kwisatz Haderach, Jr. He is referred to that by Oscar directly. He's a failed Kwisatz Haderach, attempt to speak to both the female and male ancestors inside of him. Summons Delicia, summons Lola. And so there's more in this book than people give it credit for, which is okay. That's the nature of nerds. Thank you, guys.